hopping and a singing his song. All the little birds on Jaybird Street love to hear the robin go tweet, 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 rockin' robin, tweet.
Welcome to Life is Good. I'm Heather McEwen, your ever-loving hostess, and we have a very, well, the definition of a Renaissance man on today. And even though I usually interview people who live full-time in Vermont, Kevin Vandever lives all over Hexhalf Acre, right? And we're going to talk about New Orleans, pre and post Katrina, from a resident. We're going to talk about the new Brooklyn in New York, which is gentrified and how it's changed the dynamic there. And also the fact that he's a terrific dad, and he's got a wonderful couple of girls. And we're very fortunate that they live here, that one of them lives here in Newport and the other visits quite often. So, Mr. Vandever.
Yeah, Kevin, please.
Okay, Kevin, please. I'm Heather. Well, we've known each other now since last July.
Right.
And I met you and Felicia the same day, Felicia Updike. And that's why we're wearing these shirts. Would you like to tell us about this shirt?
I don't know that much about it. I saw Felicia with the shirt and the hat, and I said, I want one. But other than that,
Well, I hope she gave you a good deal.
She did. I got the dog discount.
You got, and also you volunteer in town for us with the Newport City Downtown Development is headed by Rickerford Chase, one of our city councilors, and it does a tremendous amount of work, but it's the young people, your daughter and her friends, who are the motivators, the movers and shakers here.
Right.
What do you think of your little girl?
I'm really happy for her and proud of her. She moved to, I don't know if you know the story.
Tell me.
She was in Southern California trying to raise her daughter with Drew, her husband, my son-in-law, and things got quite expensive there, and they are expensive in Orange County, California. So
tell me.
She was looking to get out and try and get ahead, maybe buy something someday. So she was looking towards the east. She knew I grew up in the southern New Hampshire, and her sister's in Brooklyn. So she thought, I want to be closer to that part of the country, that my sister in that part. And my wife and I are in New Orleans most of the time. We also stay in Huntington and
Huntington Beach.
Huntington Beach, California, yes.
Right under the path of JetBlue flights.
Oh, right. So Felicia decided to start looking into Vermont. That was the place her sister said, try Burlington, Vermont. It's beautiful. I've been there a couple times. So Felicia and Drew looked at Burlington. A little too busy for Felicia. She's not much of a city girl. And the pricing for housing was similar to Orange County. So she's like, okay, I can't do that. Sight unseen, she saw this house for rent in Derby Line, and called the lady, and they worked out a deal, and she rented it with only seeing pictures. She's had a good feeling, so they moved to Derby Line. She got involved in Newport and was driving every day from Derby Line. So then they started to look for a house in Newport. Found a beautiful house last July, and then
it is gorgeous.
Now she lives in Newport and she works in Newport, and she's happy, and she's thrived here, met other people who are about her age that have come to Newport from other places, and also longtime residents here, that combo. And there's from what I understand, a new energy in Newport that's bringing the city back, the community back a little bit. And I understand that this energy had once been here, but it had disappeared a little bit.
Things flatline every once in a while,
Yeah.
like a pendulum, it swings.
So that's really it. That's the short answer, believe it or not.
That's a good answer, and I'm telling you, bringing you and your wife and her sister to town, and Drew, her hubby, and their beautiful child, who has co-hosted my show, I think 3 times.
Yeah.
That's Lilo Updike, 5 years old, and 5 years going on 50.
She is.
And I just can't get over how much one person can change the atmosphere around me.
Right.
I am extremely grateful for having met these children. I call them children because they are to me, and yet so much more mature than I was at their age.
Same.
And so much more worldly.
Yeah.
Even though I traveled the world, and I've been somewhat educated, and I've been this and I've been that,
Yeah.
they bring that maturity of action, speaks louder than words.
Felicia's always enjoyed getting involved. In Huntington, she volunteered for the Basset Hound Rescue, and in the 2 years she was the president of the volunteer organization. So she digs in to whatever she finds passion for. When she came here, she found a lot of need for her fulfillment, right? For what would fill her heart. So it's, and people like you, Heather, have also been a positive influence on her. So people like Rick and you, and then all the new people come to town. It's just
the people who lived here, have lived here all their lives, are so supportive.
That's what I found too.
The wisdom that they provide is great. Yeah. I talk about the youth energy, but what you have here also is a very strong foundation of real Vermonters who don't want to be changed, rightfully so.
Yeah.
Who don't want a catastrophic earthquake or tsunami of energy to come in here and wipe all that they have built out. And so the young people here have respect for all of that, and they're building upon, not tearing down and building their own world.
Yeah, come in and listen and learn,
yeah.
And then see where you can help, where you can bring your skills and talent and passion to help the vision and help create the vision too. But no, the people I've met outside of Felicia, some of the new friends, are all similar in that we have great ideas, we've been around, but we want to listen and understand first.
Totally. It's so respectful. Yeah. And it's so refreshing. Yeah. When I came here, I was a herdsman on a dairy farm over in Franklin County when I first moved to Vermont, so I came in the back door.
Okay.
You come in and you succeed as a herdsman / farm worker, the only one on the farm, 700 acres, you know, the only one working on it beside the actual farmer, and you don't quit, then whatever you need to do in the future, you get backing from the company, from the community. And so I was very fortunate to come in, and people were taking bets on how long this city road would last, right? But they forget it's part, they didn't know that my grandparents were raised on dairy farms.
Right. And that's, we all do that a little bit. We just don't know. We make these judgments and these assumptions, but we really don't know what's going on. So
anyway, speaking of judgments and assessments, Katrina, the terrible storm that hit New Orleans, my favorite American city, bar none. You were there because you love jazz?
Yeah, that's the music scene was what brought me there. I went to a technical conference in the mid-90s, and I had a consulting business at the time. I was down there for a conference. I'd never been to New Orleans before, and my wife called me. She was taking care of office management and travel for my partner and me. And she said, you know, there's something called the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival playing the day you're supposed to leave. It starts, and it looks like a big deal. And I said, yeah, I've seen all the signs. So I changed my flight one day to the festival, and it's like, never heard or seen anything like this, the music. So that was the start. And then when I found out my neighbor, and his wife, who we lived in Chicago at the time, our neighbors were fans of New Orleans and went to the festival every year. I didn't know this until I told them about this great festival I discovered, you know. We started going with them, and then the rest is history. We started going more and more, listening to music and meeting people and becoming friends. And then we finally bought a place. But we didn't buy our house in New Orleans until after Katrina, but we were there quite a while visiting before Katrina.
Yeah. Before Katrina, I was there a lot.
Yeah.
And, God, and it was my town. I mean, I never went out at night. We were always advised, don't go out at night.
Yeah.
And I'm tired and lazy anyway. I get up early. I was a farming girl. It's like, but that didn't detract from the music you heard on every corner. And I would stand and just watch these wonderful performers who had included you. You felt loved by them because they were loving what they do. And I felt so at home because I'm from Montreal originally. It's a lot of French and good music. We have the Montreal Jazz Festival.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's not even so much that it was jazz. It's the fact that it was alive and yet it had a pulse.
Yes.
So, and then I talked to the people about the spiritual life down there, and they were very reticent. But the last time I went before Katrina, I went to the girl who was working at the hotel lobby, who I saw every time, and I said, and we were at the Whitney, and I said, I'd really like to meet people from the spiritual life of New Orleans to interview them. I promise I won't say anything they don't want me to say, and I'll ask no questions they don't want to hear. Yeah. I'll let them lead. And they're very secretive, and she said, okay, I'll introduce you the next time you're in town, which is great. Then Katrina hit, boom.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I only went back one more time after that. She was no longer working there, and I missed that one opportunity, but there's nothing about New Orleans that doesn't intrigue me.
Yeah, it's deep and dark and secret and lovely and joyful and artistic.
In a way, it's an awful lot like Vermont in the alive and secret and history and stoicism. They don't tell you everything that's in their heart. You know they've got a huge heart.
Mm-hmm.
But they only let it out a little bit at a time to the people who deserve to know.
Yeah.
And post-Katrina, what can I tell you? How did it affect you? That's when you actually moved there.
Yeah, so thankfully I knew people before Katrina. So after the storm and the man-made disaster of the levees failing.
Tell me about it.
That, I knew people suffering, losing their homes and watching them rebuild. And my buddy and I, who I mentioned earlier, he by then had a place in New Orleans. So I went down as soon as I could when the National Guard was there. And he did more than I did because he had a place, he let people stay there, but we tried to help what little we could. But it was amazing to see the community come together and the infrastructure to this day,
It's lacking.
It still hasn't come back.
No.
They lost a hospital during Katrina, the hospital never came back, police force is undermanned, the fire, it's never completely come back. My wife and I get frustrated, it's just silly when you think about the bigger picture, but we didn't know if the trash was going to be picked up any week, and it's just those kinds of things. And that's never, others could disagree with me and totally understand. My view is it never fully returned in the infrastructure. Tourism, music, art, that came back, and it may be stronger. There's certain things that are better about Katrina from a management of the city standpoint. They learned some things. So it wasn't all negative afterwards as far as how they brought the city back.
So amazing that just before Katrina, I believe it was your mayor who was indicted.
Yeah.
And then he got reelected.
Yes.
I hope that doesn't happen to a certain person who's been indicted at this point. But it did happen in New Orleans, but that's a different joie de vivre down there. It's like he knows what he's doing when it comes to the town. So he did a little of this and a little of that, but he didn't destroy us. And he's not out only for himself, because he was out for New Orleans.
Yeah.
And he lost a bunch too. He lost family.
Yeah, and it's, it's so different than any other place I've lived when you look at how the city runs. And, to say it's corrupt is a simple word.
Well, you were in Chicago.
Yeah, exactly.
And they tried to hide I lived in Chicago for 3 years during the time of Jane Byrne.
Okay.
And I did some stuff with WGN News and things like that just as a guest. But it was so corrupt, and they tried to hide it. Jane Byrne, don't go there with me. God rest her soul, but don't even start me on that one. And then I'd go to Boston, and right behind you is a picture of me with Mayor Flynn.
Okay.
Don't look.
Yeah.
I'm not really photogenic. Mayor Flynn looked great. But in Boston, they were kind of proud of their corruption.
Yeah.
I mean, he came to me and he said, I just had lunch with with Bob Kennedy, or Teddy Kennedy, whoever was alive when I was down there. And it was Teddy Kennedy. I just had lunch with Teddy Kennedy. And now I'm having lunch here. What do you want to talk about? And I said, I want to talk about Teddy Kennedy. But they were very open about whatever corruption made the city work, because they did it with a sense of humor and a lot of admission.
That's the thing when I said, it's oversimplified to say corrupt, because New Orleans runs in a different way, and you can get frustrated very easily with how seemingly slow or unorganized they are if you're coming from Orange County like we did, or Chicago. It's like cities are run maybe a little more efficiently, and you learn that this is how the city runs. So when you say corrupt, it's not, like you said, it's not like a bunch of underhanded stuff. There's probably stuff I don't know.
It's like, I'll wash your hands if you wash
Yeah, it's like
my hands.
a city. They're trying to get stuff done. The interesting thing about New Orleans is, if you think about the population in New Orleans, it's not much more than a Tulsa, Oklahoma, or
where I also lived for 5 years.
Other small towns, but those small towns aren't inundated with tourism and the music scene and all the stuff and the port city and all that comes into New Orleans, and it's a lot to handle for a small city, really.
What it is a fluid organization, and it has to be, because it's like the fluidity it's the grease that makes all the gears work together, and that's called, this will work today. It's not exactly kosher, but it'll make this work, so this gear will go too. I love the way they run their city.
Yeah, it's my wife and I learned in you know, if someone from New Orleans ever sees this video, they're gonna just skewer me, but we were a little frustrated being homeowners there. You know, people live with it, get used to it. A lot of people, we got frustrated with how the city ran sometimes, and especially my wife, who was dealing with more of that than I was.
You were not a priority to them. The house homeowner is not the priority.
Yeah, that's it. It's so you kind of learn to roll with it because there's so much positive in the city. You know, people are wonderful. The friends we have there are wonderful. So that's what that city brings. I'll never stop loving New Orleans, no matter what happens. I'll never stop going there. But it's one of those things. The closer you get to something, then you're like, oh, okay, don't peel the onion back too far. You know, be careful what you ask. But I love it, and I still love it. We spend less time now because
your house is for sale there.
We'll start April 7th. It goes on the market. Yeah,
breaks my heart to hear that, you know, because I've never visited your house, and I was certainly hoping for an invitation.
Yeah, I know it's gonna be sad.
It's all about me.
Well, you're welcome to come back.
I know.
My wife and I are going down there soon to do the, you know, get personal stuff out of there, and it's going to be tough. But we've both made the decision to sell it.
And you can always go back.
We can go. We have so many places to stay. It's not. The sadness isn't about, oh no, we're not going to be able to go to New Orleans as much. It's just all the memories in the house. It was the family house for a while. We did all the holidays there, and now the kids are older. They do their own thing. It's harder for them to travel. They're busy. They have jobs. You know, my wife and I are a little more flexible and free to move around. So
yeah, we'll talk about your 3-month world cruise in a minute. But speaking of your other daughter,
yes,
and how the jazz scene influenced her there, no doubt.
She certainly did. That's the thing about, you mentioned earlier about the musicians being so open. Over the years of my going there, and I love the music, I've become friends, really close friends with a few musicians down there because they are so accessible, they are so approachable.
Yeah.
And no other city, Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, beautiful music scenes, but it's just not as approachable. There's a separation, at least in my dealings. New Orleans was not. So when I'd bring Clea down there, and even Felicia, when Felicia played music for a long time, she, you know, after high school she didn't pursue it, but
and dancing.
So musicians would take Clea and bring her on stage. She played at Preservation Hall.
Tell us all about Clea, because this is quite a story. Yes. She's a lovely young lady.
So Clea is my youngest daughter. She's 3 years younger than Felicia, who lives here. And she, you know, I introduced music to both girls when they were young. They took piano lessons. Clea heard the trombone on a Marcellus family CD I had from 2001. She said, oh, what's that instrument? It was Delfeo Marcellus playing the trombone.
What a family that is.
So she goes, oh, I'd like to try that. So I had a friend who worked for Yamaha, and she got me her employee discount to buy a trombone, student torn. And that was at 8 years old she did that. So that was 20 years ago. And she took it on. She never had to be told to practice. She fell in love with this instrument. And which is funny because today I tease her about this, and she might even agree with me. She's the least trombonist I know.
But
she studied with saxophone players and other players. She loves the trombone, but she has a unique sound. It's all her own. She's not a typical, it's a loud brass instrument, and she's not that type of person.
No, even her body language when she performs. I've seen some videos.
Yeah.
But she's a Grammy winner.
She's a Grammy winner. She was on a big band ensemble. I think it was Best Big Band Jazz Album.
Best trombonist in a jazz band.
And she was on that record that won a Grammy. So yeah, she's a Grammy winner, and she's just released an album coming up with a trio she's in. She has 3 albums of her own. That was a year ago, yesterday or the day before, that her 3rd album released.
Yeah, I saw it drop.
Yeah, so yeah, she's doing it. She's living in New York City and as a musician and a wonderful human being.
She really is.
As is Felicia. So
you know what I love best about your daughters? Their openness to discuss things with an old woman.
Mm.
You know, to bare their souls, but also to just give me their ideas. And that's very educational for me.
Yeah.
So you've raised them well to talk to grown-ups.
Well, thank you. I've raised them, and now they're teaching me stuff. So
yeah, that's the way it is. A good sidebar. Friends over in Franklin County just asked me if I knew anybody who could put up a 21-year-old for 6 to 8 months. And I just gave my number and said, have him text me, and I'll see if I can hook him up with anybody around here.
Mm-hmm.
And after he texted me, I thought, well, I had an extra room.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, will you be here on weekends? Because that's a no-go. He said, no, I go home on weekends.
Mhm.
Good boy, he goes home on weekends to Franklin County. And I said, well, let's talk. You might hate me, so let's talk first.
Sure.
And, you know, and maybe I'll have a 21-year-old living here, and I wouldn't have thought of doing that if I hadn't met your daughters, who put me in touch with younger people again.
Oh, yeah.
Because you think it's an impossible relationship sometimes, especially, you know, I'm an old-fashioned girl.
Mm-hmm.
But it just seems like the more I meet them all now, the happier I am getting in touch with them again.
And Felicia's, I mean, she was always, everywhere she'd been, I always said that she lights up a room when she walks in, my oldest daughter, right? She's always done that, but something extra happened here with her, like she, even more blah, like.
And what was that?
I don't know, it's the combination of the place, the people she met, the opportunities, whether working on the board of the
Northern Star.
Northern Star, she worked on it, she was the director of the Northern Star, now she's as an ambassador at Eden Cider and running the tasting room at Eden Cider.
Yeah, Eden Cider's on Main Street in Newport, and it is a tasting center.
Yeah, and
Drop in, it's awesome. It looks understated. You have to look up the name Eden, but go on in.
Yeah.
You'll meet these young kids, and
Yeah.
you'll taste fabulous cider.
it's really good cider. I've never been a cider fan until I started drinking Eden. That's a commercial right there.
Yeah, well, we've done commercials for them before.
So, but I just thought when she was already, I never worried at all about her picking up and moving somewhere. My wife and I did that when Felicia was 1 or 2 years old. We moved from California to Chapel Hill so I could continue education. And she was doing similar at her age, and we were like, go for it. And I knew she would do well, but she's thriving here, and
Yeah.
Drew is, and Lilo. So, it's, you know, I just,
You're just
I'm
happy.
so proud and happy. And I love being here too. It's phenomenal. Get out of the city a little bit. But even, it's not just an escape out of the city. On its own, it's a great place to visit.
You're in Brooklyn a lot. What do you think about Brooklyn now that it's gentrified? Were you ever there before?
No, not much. I grew up in southern New Hampshire, but we didn't come to New York a lot. I would do field trips and vacation trips. There wasn't a lot of time in Brooklyn. So the stories I hear about Brooklyn are from what I read or hear from others. And it has gentrified.
It's pushed a lot of people who couldn't afford to live there after the gentrification.
Yeah.
I don't like to see that happening.
Yeah.
It's happening everywhere. It happened in Boston down by the docks, you know, Commercial Wharf and
Yeah.
all that other thing. And the old North End in Boston is completely,
It's way different now.
yeah, I mean, the whole Italian immigrant personality, it's still felt, but some of the people can't live there anymore.
That's how New Orleans is. That's how Brooklyn has become. Yesterday, I read that Park Slope is a community in Brooklyn, and there was a 30-plus year bakery that has to close because they can't afford the rent anymore, and the landlord won't negotiate. I don't know all the details.
Well, they
It's
go
just-
for profit.
So they're moving, they're looking to move, but right now they're closing the door. So that's happening. I live in Sunset Park, which is a southwest Brooklyn, and it's still blue collar. There's a lot of Puerto Rican and Mexican on one side, and I live in the park, and then Brooklyn Chinatown is just up from me, and these places feel less changed than the rest of Brooklyn.
I'm hoping it stays like that.
And I love it there. The park's beautiful. Lila loves the park when she comes to visit. We have a nice apartment there, nice, you know, restaurants, taco stands on the street, Chinese food. I mean, it feels like Sunset Park, and this is from others who've been there longer, that Sunset Park has changed slower than other communities in Brooklyn. So, but we love Brooklyn. It's
Yeah, I don't know anybody who doesn't love Brooklyn right
the
now.
music scene's good there, the food scene, everything. There's a lot to do. So
And
yeah.
you're right, hop on a bus here, well, hop on a train in downtown.
Yeah.
What is it, 18 minutes, no, it's 18 minutes from 17 minutes from where I lived in Queens, when I was working for the airline.
To get to Manhattan?
To get to the city, yeah. And,
Yeah, it's 20, 25 probably from
yeah.
where I
Oh,
live.
you're way out there.
Yeah, that's including the walk though.
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
so-
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
But
and-
yeah, we stumbled upon Brooklyn during the pandemic. I was able to work remotely during the pandemic.
Let's talk about what you do.
Okay, well,
Did.
yes, I'm retired as of January 2023. I was in the information technology field for almost 39 years.
So you saw it start.
Software developer. Then the last 20, I was a leader at Bear Paint. I was a director of the application team. It's about 30 people, including our office in Pune.
I've applied Bear Paint,
Yeah,
but I
it's a
don't do
good
any
thing.
applications. It is an excellent paint, Behr. For
At
some
Home
of-
Depot, yeah.
Yep, some of you don't know that I paint, but I use it when I do my paintings because it stands up to the test of time. If you put your paintings in a window, or if you put your paintings, or if you do murals outside, they're terrific, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And my dad worked for Sherwin-Williams
Oh.
in the early 50s, and Murphy Paint
Yeah, no.
in the early 50s. Then he opened a paint and wallpaper store in Montreal. And he extended credit to everybody, because they all knew him, everybody knew my dad,
That's good.
and they didn't pay him.
Yeah, that's not good.
And that's not good. So he said, what I learned more than anything else about being self-employed is that people shouldn't take it personally when you deny credit.
Mm-hmm.
You can still have them as friends, but he said you won't have them as friends if you extend credit.
Right, that's
And
good.
he said friendship is more important. And of course he went on to better things, but he had some of his old stationery with Murphy paint on top,
Mhm.
and then the Sherwin-Williams pens and things like that. That was in the early 50s, so they were really old by the time I knew how to use them.
I think Behr started in 1947, so that was
Yeah.
when they, yeah.
Good.
So I did that, and then now I'm writing a little bit and
Yeah, tell me about that, please.
digging
Because
back into consulting, and yeah.
you want to write, you want to tell me about your writing, but I know sometimes it dilutes if you give it to the universe before you actually put it forward.
Oh, no, I don't mind.
Okay, go for it.
I'm working on, I'm writing a collection of essays. The essays range, they're about my life. I was going to try and organize them into father, grandfather, husband parts of my life. There's a lot of that in there. But I've written some other things about my childhood, mostly about things I've flubbed up in my life, or, learned from some fun stuff. It's just about my life. It's right now, it's a collection. I don't know where it's going to go. I just write right now, and then at some point I have a mild deadline for myself at the end of the year to have a roughish draft of a collection of essays. And periodically I'll publish them on medium.com and just see what kind of love or not love I get for those.
I've never used that.
Yeah, I like it. Readers and writers go there, and now there's publications there, so there'll be a group of people that accept submissions for parenthood or for pottery or paint, whatever it is. There's someone collecting.
Categorizing.
Yeah, and so you apply to be an author for their publication. They want to see your writing, and they say yes or no. I belong to 2 or 3 of those, and I publish when I can.
What kind of feedback do you get?
It's been all positive, actually.
That's nice.
I was gonna say no negative. The negative, maybe they don't say anything. Maybe that's the case. But yeah, it's been really positive. It's helped me because I'm always most writers are guarded with their stuff. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm really guarded. I
Same
have
here.
a few people I've let read it before I publish it, and it's family. Felicia, Kalia, and Karina. So
They're always reading.
they get to read my stuff before. Because sometimes I include them. I'm like, here, is this accurate? Even if it is accurate, are you okay with me talking about this? And I'll let them, and most of the time they're like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, the truth is important to retell.
So that's it. And I'm doing that, and now I'm digging a little back into consulting, a little AI, the AI world, artificial intelligence has piqued my interest. And
What do you think about AI? Because we hear such horror stories about it. And I didn't know I was watching AI. I just wondered why this man had the same voice no matter what he looked like. And I didn't realize that this man, divulging life secrets about how to live better and feel better, and if you do this, then this will be the result. Kind of like a biblical thing.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, one day there's a Native American telling me this story, another day there's an elderly black man, and here's a 40-year-old guy, and they're all gorgeous.
Yeah.
And they're telling me these things, and they've got the same voice. That's AI.
Yeah,
Who knew?
AI is all around us. We're not going to escape it.
Of course not.
And I learned, based on my background, we did a little of it when I was working, but it was in its infancy, and it was really expensive to implement at the company to try and, let's say we wanted to dig into a bunch of data and try to predict which customers were likely to leave us, because Behr.
You mean just a different algorithm?
Yeah, you try and plug data in to say, okay, based on the activity of this paint contractor, he's gonna move to someone else. And so, but it was expensive and hard to implement. And about midsummer last year to fall, I've seen tools that were really inexpensive to use. People have heard of ChatGPT probably, and if not, it's just somewhere you go and you can ask it a question. It's like a conversational Google search. And that came out, it was really widely accepted, but people found out, oh, it's not always accurate, because the way these things are built, it's not on accuracy, it's on prediction of the next word. If you type in, I think I want to go to the, beaches of Hollywood Park, it does, and that's way oversimplifying it. But basically I got involved in that and people wanted to use these tools to generate marketing materials so they didn't have to do it, to automate email sending. So it's less about AI, but it's more about productivity. So I found a little niche trying to do that. And
Efficiency AI.
It helps some companies. AI itself, there's companies now that are really trying to understand how they can make it ethical, how we can, make it safe and secure for people to use, knowing you're going to get valid, correct answers, and it's not going to go off and do evil,
Yeah, well, you can't guarantee that because it seems like it's like whack-a-mole.
Yeah, exactly.
Every time you create something, someone creates something more devious.
Yeah, and there's always those bad actors out there.
Yeah, and I remember, not to badmouth Casella, but before they came into Coventry, I had a show in another market, not close to here, but in Vermont. And I had a fellow named Matthew Farfan, and then the spokesperson for Casella on that show to talk about the Coventry, proposed Coventry landfill.
Okay.
Now Matthew Farfan is from Quebec, I'm late member from Magog, and I grew up with his older brothers. And he was debating, and I was in the middle supposedly, seeing as I invited both, I wanted to hear both sides, but it became very obvious very quickly that I was biased. Mm. Because the fellow from Casella said, oh, but our liners last 30 years. Mm. I'm going, that's a nanosecond in the vast expanse of time. What are you telling me? It's going to last 30 years and then suddenly everything's going to be clean that comes out of there? It's just going to dissolve and everything's going to be okay? I don't believe you. And if it's 30 years, why are you telling me that? If you really want to get me sold, say it's going to be 1,000 years, and I'll say, well, that might be a good liner.
Right.
But he kept on saying 30 years is forever when it comes to water purity. Or something. I can't remember the exact words. And I was so hurt by that. Yeah. Because there are so many good ways you can do things, and they are doing everything they can to try and avoid total dissolution of our lake. But they've got a lot of things in place, but they're man-made things. Right. Yeah. And nature has a way of messing you up.
For sure.
And in AI, people go in there with a pureness of soul, and there's somebody who's devious who's looking to mess you up.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting the next few years. So my involvement is, helping small business become more efficient where I can. That's kind of what I'm doing. It's fun for me. I like the technology. But
how do people get in touch with you?
I have a website, kevinvandever.com, I guess, you go out there. And, when you look at the design and love it, it's because my daughter Felicia helped me design it, or actually designed it. I should say not helped. I helped her.
She did my website, which it's not up yet.
Yeah, mine's up, but I haven't really publicized it, but it's good. I have some personal writing on there. I have some soon-to-come AI projects I've done on there. A little bit about myself there. So, trying to write some letters to my granddaughter and publish some of those there.
Oh, so. I wrote letters to my grandson when he was a baby, before he could read. Now that he can read, he doesn't.
Yeah.
He's too busy.
I'm into that. That's all since retirement. I'm, I like to travel, like to come here and visit, I like to write, and that's what I'm doing in my time.
After retirement, you took a 3-month cruise around the world or around the Mediterranean?
No, the cruise was only a week. It was 3 months in Europe.
Oh!
The cruise was only a week of it.
That's enough.
And yeah, exactly. That's my wife and I may do another cruise again. I'm not sure, but that was good. The other time we went to Belgium, the Netherlands, went to London.
I have to stay 10 days minimum to a month when I go to London.
Yeah, we were only there a few days. Little daughter bragging here. My youngest played with Harry Styles. She was in his band, so he was playing these 90,000 people stadiums. So my wife and I got to go see that. And so for Karina's birthday, took her to London to see a show that she didn't know we were going to see. So that was fun. But we spent time with friends in Belgium. We have some really good friends in Belgium. and they took us around and showed us places in the Netherlands. So it was just a nice time. We stayed mostly with them and branched out, but it was 3 months. Not 3 months, it was a little less than 3 months. We want to do 3 months coming up in 2025.
And what will that entail?
We're thinking of Loire Valley in France, and then branching out again from there.
Are you going by bicycle? And when you're over there, are you going to be hiking around on a bicycle?
I will do that. My wife's not. Oh, she'll bike somewhere there. She won't bike in New York or New Orleans. She might bike.
That's why she's alive.
Yeah, probably. But she would. She's not. That's not her favorite thing to do. But I think if you're in a place like Loire where you can bike and it's fairly safe there,
it is.
She would do. But yeah, that's it. This last time in Europe was just under 2 months. But
if you're going to be there in the winter, what time of the year are you going?
we're thinking next year, if it all works out, it means house selling and all this stuff. It'd be January, February through March, April. Yeah.
Then I must recommend to you Austria, Salzburg.
Oh, I love Salzburg.
It's great. And Vienna.
But I was only there during the summer.
In the winter, it's a different experience.
Yeah.
I love Salzburg for the cafes. And for the fact that you can leave and an hour later you're hiking in the Alps.
Yeah, we were only there.
But I didn't do that in the winter. As far as Vienna, it's bitter, it's bitterly cold, it's damp, but that brings you in, so you go to the Vienna Boy Choir, the Mozart Mass, or you do the inside things, the opera. It's all so good in Vienna, it's the best.
I've never been to Vienna, but I was in Salzburg again because of the kids. My wife and I chaperoned the trip. Both Felicia and Kalia were in a youth orchestra and played all over Italy, played in Salzburg, and they were, I don't know, Felicia, I think 12 and 9 at the time.
What talent.
So they got to play, and then the percussionist kid was sick, so he couldn't go, so two parents of kids who could read music, we got to play. So I've been on an international music tour with my daughter, so
that's something not everybody can say. Well, there are other things I wanted to ask you. What do you want to talk about for the last few minutes?
I don't know. I was just thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to know you these last 8-9 months.
It's true.
Yeah, it's been
8-9 months go by like a jiffy.
Yeah.
Well, about your bike riding.
Oh yeah, sure.
One more thing. Bike riding is fantastic here. I live on the bike path in Newport, which takes you right up to Ayrescliff, Quebec. But wait a minute, I went yesterday and the bridge, I guess 3.5 miles into that beautiful bike trail up on the Tomophobia River, just across from the BB Plain crossing, the bridge is out.
Oh, okay.
And it's been taken out manually. You can tell that they've stripped the wood and everything. Last year it was just in bad shape. This year it's completely naked. And even though there are only girders and a 12-foot drop down into a very raging river, they have a sign up, out of order. Just pass, don't go here.
Thanks for telling me.
Thanks, I was just going to go walking. But, they have to do that. But I'm hoping that's fixed before summer. I don't know, there was no one working there yesterday.
Yeah.
But, yesterday was my first bike ride of the year. April 2nd was my first bike ride of the year. And, it's a good 21 miler because there's so many good trails here and they're not that difficult.
No, I love it.
And you've got the e-bikes and you've got the road bike.
Yes, I brought both of my bikes. I own a few bicycles in New Orleans. When I'm there, I ride. They're cruiser bikes, so you ride around town. But I no longer have a bike in New York. I no longer have a bike in Huntington. I have 2 bikes here because I love riding here so much. And the e-bike, I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll sell it. It's just, I like it, but it was a pain to haul up and down the stairs in my apartment because there's no real good parking for it. I'm like, so every time I'd want to ride it, I'd think about how long it was going to take me to go up and down the stairs.
It's a tough schlep. What did it weigh, about 800 pounds?
Yeah, it feels like it, yeah. So I brought it here on this last weekend thinking, well, if Drew and Felicia ride it even a little bit, that'll be great. And when I'm here on longer rides, I'll ride it and I'll take my road bike out on the shorter rides. That's how it's road gravel. It can handle these trails. Well, we joked yesterday because now we need a sign-up sheet in the house to ride the bike because Drew and Felicia have taken to it, and Drew put all the accessories that I got with it for free when I bought it that I just put to the side, never put on. Drew put all those on, and now Felicia rode it to work yesterday or the day before. So now I'm really happy.
And I gave Felicia a crash helmet.
Yeah, yeah.
It should be called a crash helmet. That's not a very optimistic way of looking at a bike helmet. I don't wear them.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I
know.
I had a head injury, you know, and it's not like lightning can't strike twice in the
Yeah.
same spot, but I get migraines
Yeah.
if I have any pressure there
Oh,
for some reason. I think that I blame it on the accident, but I don't know. I could wear one, but it would be taking a real risk with the way I felt for the rest of the day.
yeah. Okay.
So I don't know. It's 50-50.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't say this on film, but I didn't wear one here. I went out to the shed and put it on. It didn't fit over the hat, so I'm like, I'm not.
Well, you've got a very padded hat. I saw that thing.
I think I'm okay.
I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay.
Yeah, but I love that I have two bikes here, and I love that I can ride here. It's the best place where I've been and to ride bicycles, and now I'm meeting some people who like to ride also. There's this ride coming up.
Oh yeah, what's it called? It's the cross-border, 25 Quebecers and 25 USers.
Right, it's a 70K bike ride, and I'm doing that in June. So I just, there's so many reasons for me to come here. It starts with my granddaughter and daughter, and then it just goes to the bicycling, the people, the nice community.
And the great t-shirts from your daughter.
Great t-shirts, yes, that I'm sorry I didn't know exactly what it was from, but I will say my daughter's involved in so much that sometimes I never know where the shirts come from. So
yeah, well,
this
is actually a very good thing. It's called
NCDD, right?
It took me forever to figure what that was.
North County,
nope,
downtown?
Newport City Downtown Development.
There you go.
And I'm not good with the letter thing,
She's going to kill me when she sees this.
No, not at all. No. Felicia, we're learning how to spell. Give us credit.
Yeah,
We're retired folk.
Right. Thank you.
But I really am glad you came on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for asking me.
I hope you get a place and make it more permanent here. I mean, you probably rented a room from your daughter now because she's got a gorgeous house. And Drew is starting his own business. Check out. I had him on the show last week.
I saw that.
And Drew is an amazing young man. I'm thrilled he's here too. And
for sure.
He's a great dad, eh?
Very good. Yes, I'm very pleased.
And I love the fact that he spends so much time with your daughter and in such a great way. He came over here to help me move some furniture once. I tried to get this enormous thing up narrow stairs to my attic. And it was, I think it's 7 or 8 feet high. It was taller than I am, maybe 7 feet high. And this wide. And I thought, oh, no problem, I'll just get that up there. Well, I couldn't, and it got stuck in the stairs, and I didn't know what to do, so I called, and Felicia sent Drew right over. And in 2 seconds, he had it up there.
Right.
And Lila was here, and Lila would say, Daddy, I can help, and he'd say, it might hurt you, and he would take the time to explain, it will hurt you, it weighs an awful lot, and Heather can't lift it. So, thank you, Lilo, but no, I'd rather you not help now.
Yes.
Okay, Daddy.
Yeah.
Very good explanation. I think I would have just told my children no. Different generations of how to communicate.
Yeah.
I'm surprised my kids can complete full sentences. It's like, I just said no. And then there's Nancy Reagan out there saying, just say no. I said, okay.
You're doing it right.
I'm just saying no. Anyway, thanks so much.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Mr. Kevin Vandever, an almost resident of this area and elsewhere in the world, and the proud father of 2 wonderful girls, grandfather and great father-in-law, according to Drew. Thanks for watching Life is Good. I don't know who's on next week, but I'm sure I'll dig somebody up. And if you have any suggestions, just call the station, and Kelby will put you in touch with me, if you'd like to be on the show, to be grilled around my kitchen table. And I've got to say, the guests at my table are much better than the food I put on it. So thank you for watching. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for watching Life is Good.